children, I hope you all are good. Today we are going to discuss the topic related to civics, role of president, prime minister and the council of minister. We are living in a democratic country, so we need to understand the different organs of the government, different person who are going to exercise the power to govern us. So in this chapter we are going to discuss about our president, prime minister and the council of minister. In the previous chapter we have heard and we have read about the parliamentary form of government. We have learnt about the union, executive and the power of the president. Now, the central government is known as the union government. So, if you have heard the word union or central, that is the same. Union government includes the president, after that the parliament and then the prime minister and his council of minister. These all are the part of union government. The head of the Indian Republic is the president, but actual power reside in the hand of council of ministers and the prime minister is the head of council of ministers. So, you can say the power is in the hand of minister and the council of minister. The council of minister is responsible to the Lok Sabha and Lok Sabha has right to introduce no confidence motion in against the ruling party, in against the council of minister. Now, look at this flow chart. Top at position the president, after that the vice president, then prime minister, then council of minister, and if we are going to divide the council of minister, so the cabinet is the prominent, most important. Then after that we are having minister of states and deputy ministers. This is the governance chart of the parliamentary form of government. So let's start the discussion on the President of India. The constitutional head of the government and the chief executive of Indian Union is the President. President office is the highest in the country. He symbolizes the national unity and the protector of the constitution. He or she occupies a place of dignity and honor. The President is not answerable to any court for the exercise of the power of his office. All executive orders, they are issued only and only in the name of the President. Until and unless President is not going to sign, you cannot issue that order. So, President is above all the political party. Then qualification and election for the President. He or she should have the citizen of India, then have completed the age of 35 years, then qualified for the election as a member of Lok Sabha. She should proposed by at least 50 members of the electoral college. Now, the process through which this president is elected, that is electoral college, and seconded by the another 50 members. Then he or she must not hold any office of profit under the central or state government. If he or she must vacate such a post before seeking the election of president. So, president is elected through an electoral college indirectly, means directly we are not going to choose the president. Indirectly, elected members of both houses of parliament, elected members of state legislative assembly, they participated in the election of president, means the parliament, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and the other state assemblies members also. They are also going to participate in the election. The president is elected through the proportional representation. First you have learnt electoral college and then proportional representation by means of single transferable vote system. Now, terms and office. The president is elected for full term of 5 years. He or she can be re-elected for the second time also. By addressing letter to the Vice President of India, he or she can resign. Means if he has to resign, then he has to address to the Vice President. The President can be removed only and only by impeachment motion. Impeachment motion when he or she is going to act against the constitution. So beta, in impeachment motion both the houses participate, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. But impeachment motion can not easily pass. It takes 2/3 voting in the houses, both the houses. When this impeachment motion pass with the 2/3 voting in the both houses, then only the president or he or she will resign from his post. Now, the present president of India is Miss Draupadi Murmu. By mistake, it has written Mr. Ramnath Kovind. He was the previous president, but right now, Mrs. Draupadi Murmu is our president. And then we were having the Ramnath Kovind ji, Shrimati Pratibha Patil. They were the president of India, and Pratibha Patil was the first women president of India. Pay and allowances, if we are going to discuss, the president get monthly pay of rupee 1 lakh and an accommodation in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Then oath of the office. The president after election takes the oath of office. The Chief Justice of India administer the oath to the president, and oath how he or she is going to take. I, whatever the name that will speak, do swear in the name of God for solemnly affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of India and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect and defend the Constitution and the law, and that I will devote myself to the service and well-being of the people of India. So in this way, oath has been taken by the President. Now, what are the powers of the President? The President is having the following legislative powers. After formation of the new government, the President addresses the first session of Parliament. That is addressed by President. The President summons the sessions of the Parliament, and any bill becomes law after the sign of the President only. Otherwise, it cannot become a law. Then, President can dissolve the Parliament on advice of Council of Ministers before completing his tenure of 5 years. The President calls for the joint session of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha if the two houses fail to agree on the bill. If there is a deadlock situation, then President will call the joint session. The President can issue the ordinance when the Parliament is not in the session. All money bills are introduced with the permission of the President only. These are the legislature power of the President. Now, executive power, the President has the following executive power also. He or she appoints the Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. President appoints the Governor of the state, Lieutenant Governors, Chief Commissioner of the Union Territories. She also appoints the Chief Justice of Supreme Court and the judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts. He or she also appoints the chairman and members of UPSC, Union Public Service Commission, and Finance Commission. Then High Commissioners and Foreign Ambassadors submit their credentials to the President only. All treaties, all agreements are signed in the name of President. He or she is the Supreme Commander of the Armed Force. And you know, beta, in India, we consider the President as the first citizen of country. Now, moving to the financial part, Union budget of the government is placed before the Parliament with the prior consent of the President. In every coming financial year, government can advance money to meet an unforeseen expenditure of the contingency fund of India with the consent of President only. Okay, we need this money and in advance we are going to expend on this. But Parliament has to approve it later also. More to know, the national emergency was declared for the first time in 1962 when China attacked India. So at that time emergency was declared. Now the next power of the President is the judicial power. President appoints the Chief Justice of India, CJI, and the judges of High Court. He or she is having authority to reduce the sentence or grant pardon to a person sentenced by the court if she can help any judges or if she thinks on any matter. Means if anybody get the hanged till death such types of the punishment, they can plead to the president, and president can grant pardon, but before discussing with the other judges also. Now the emergency powers, the President of India have very extraordinary power. Also it is called the emergency power. There are three types of emergency. First, if the security of the country is threatened by the external aggression or internal disturbance, then emergency. In such situation, President can declare a state of emergency on advice of Council of Minister under Article 360. Now second emergency is when there is a financial crisis in the country. President can declare state of emergency. President can reduce the salary of the government employee, including the judges of the Supreme Court and High Court under Article 30. That is financial crisis. And the third emergency is when sometimes the constitutional machinery of particular state may break down on the advice of the governor, or the president can take over the administration of the state. That now we will rule. The particular state comes under the president rule. The parliament makes law for the particular state during this period. The declaration of the emergency has to be approved by parliament within a month, and thereafter at 6 months. That has been mentioned in Article 356. Means any state can come under that emergency if there is misgovernance. Now these are the three types of the emergency. Now the president function as a nominal head also. India has a parliamentary form of government, so in this system ministers are responsible directly to the parliament, answerable to the parliament. So government has to resign if government loses the confidence. Now the president exercises his power on the advice of Council of Ministers. This character of political system makes the president nominal head. The president is the constitutional head, and his office enjoys the great prestige and great respect. The president represents the nation on all ceremonial occasions. He or she is the first citizen of India and also called the Rashtrapati. The President of India resides in the mansion in New Delhi known as the Rashtrapati Bhavan. The Vice President of India now. Election of Vice President provides for a Vice President. It is elected by the member of both houses of parliament. The nominated member also take part in his election. Now what are the qualifications? Citizen of India, 35 years of age, qualified to a member of Rajya Sabha. How can we remove the Vice President? Vice President is also elected for 5 years, but he or she can be removed from his office through an impeachment resolution. Same process like the President. Members of both houses of parliament take part in the impeachment motion, and he or she may have resigned from his office before his tenure if the impeachment motion passed, and that motion should pass by 2/3 voting in both houses. Now powers and the functions of the Vice President. The Vice President perform the duty of President if he or she is ill or absent. He is the ex officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha also. In case of death of President, he acts as a President till the new President is not elected. Such situation has happened on 2 occasions. In 1969 when Dr. Zakir Hussain died, and in again 1977 when Dr. Farikuddin Ali Ahmad died. So the present Vice President of India is Venkaiah Naidu, not Mr. Muhammad Hamid Ansari. He was the previous Vice President. Now we are having Venkaiah Naidu is our Vice President. Now let's discuss the Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. Now Prime Minister is the head of Council of Ministers. Means you can say he or she is the head of the ruling party. It is the most powerful post in the Constitution of India, because all the execution power is in the hand of Prime Minister, as our President is the nominal head, but the execution power is in the hand of Prime Minister. The President of India is only a nominal head of the state, and his power are exercised by the Council of Ministers. Now how the Prime Minister appoint? The Prime Minister is appointed by the President. The President is not free in the appointment of Prime Minister. The President appoints the Prime Minister, who is the leader of political party which secures the majority of seat in Lok Sabha. Means the winning party leader is selected as the Prime Minister, and that President has to be appointed. So President is not free in the election of the Prime Minister. The Council of Ministers are appointed by the President on the advice of Prime Minister. If there is any situation when no political party gain the majority, clear majority नहीं आती है, so in Lok Sabha, then a number of parties jointly elect their leaders, and the President appoint that leader as the Prime Minister. Sometimes we are having the coalition form of government, na beta. Means when no single party gets the majority, the party who gets the maximum seat, that party is having a right to prove the majority. So that party join the hand with the other political party to get the coalition form of government. And then when the coalition form of government is there, then that collectively party's leader, they decide who will be the leader of the coalition government. Then that leader is elected as a Prime Minister, and that is appointed by the President. So this is the Prime Minister appointment. Now, tenure or the office of the Prime Minister, tenure means the time period. It is for the 5 years, but constitutionally he or she can hold the office till he and she, the Council of the Minister, have majority support in the Lok Sabha. The government is responsible to the Lok Sabha. They can remain in office so long as they enjoy the majority support in the House. Several government had to resign due to such situation when they are not enjoying the majority support. Means maximum to they are having the minimum to they are having the 5-year time, because after every 5 year we are having the regular election, general election. But before 5 year also they can resign. They have to resign if the no confidence motion has passed, if they will not enjoy the majority in the Lok Sabha. So that can be threatened to the political ruling party. Now Council of Minister, if you can see, we are having the 3 categories. Number 1, Cabinet Minister, then Minister of States, and then we are having Deputy Minister. Cabinet Minister are the most important, most experienced member of the Council of Ministers of the particular party. You can see the key members, and they take part in the important decision and policy of the government. So they form the Cabinet Minister. Overall, you can say the Prime Minister, and then Prime Minister choose from his party top 10-20 leaders who can play the main significant role in the ruling. So those top 10-20 members among the Council of Minister will be the Cabinet Minister. You can see, okay, Prime Minister is there, and then he or she has chosen his Cabinet, the top members. Now what happened? After Cabinet Minister, they choose the Minister of States and the Deputy Minister. Collective responsibility: as the head of Council Minister, Prime Minister preside over all the meeting of the councils. The Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to the Parliament for their any action or any omission or commission. Means the entire Council of Ministers has to resign if a vote of no confidence motion has been passed in against of the ruling party. So this is no confidence motion is always threat to the ruling party. They need to enjoy the majority in the Lok Sabha, then only they can fulfill the tenure of 5 years. So that is the collective responsibility of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers, that they have to do the best in their action. Functions of the Council of Ministers: the Cabinet Minister or the Cabinet exercise real power of the central government. It controls the legislative, executive, financial, foreign policy of the government. Number 1, formulation of the policy. National and foreign policy of the country are determined by the Council of Ministers, and especially the Cabinet Minister. Now the second part of the Council of Ministers is the administrative powers. The executive policy of the government is controlled by Council of Minister. Now the minister presides over every department, whosoever department they got, and control the administration by their supervision, by their guidance, by their directions, etc. For example, Parliament has passed any law related to the defense. So defense minister who is? Right now we are having Rajnath Singh ji. So if any law passed for the defense department, so he is responsible to execute that. So it means cabinets are very strong. They are having a power and they are going to supervise and guide to their department so that they can do well. The ministers are responsible and accountable to the parliament for their functions. They have to give answer for their department. Okay, why you haven't done this work? Yeah, why you have done this work? How you execute this law? So for every department, their particular political executive, their leader, their cabinet minister is responsible. The minister have to give answer relating to their department in the parliament. Now the other function of the council of ministers or cabinet is the judicial function. You can say the other function. The council of ministers formulate the policies, submit and seek approval of parliament. So overall you can say it control the legislative function of Indian government. So it's a legislative function of cabinet minister. Then it gives the date of parliamentary session also. They are providing the date when the session is going to be held. Then they also going to control the adjournment of the parliament. Now the next function is the financial function. It controls the financial power of Indian government. Finance minister prepare and then announce the budget in the parliament. Right now we are having the finance minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman. So she always read at every session and in a year whenever the budget is announced. So she read carefully what she is going to give to which department, how much they are going to give. So that is the annual budget. That is the financial function. Now moving to the another, that is appointments. Now the president appoints whom? The governor, ambassador, commissioner, judges on the recommendation of the council of minister only. Means president is not free, no, I am going to elect him or her or him. President has to take the advice from council of minister, then only he or she is going to appoint all these posts. Now powers and the position of the prime minister. Prime minister is the most important person in the government of the country. He or she is the head of the government. Although the president is the head of the nation, head of the state, but in terms of executive power, in the terms of executive position, prime minister is more powerful than president. Selection of minister, that is the first power of the prime minister. Prime minister selects all other ministers and recommend their names to the president, to whom he is going to appoint as a cabinet minister, to whom he is going to nominate for the state minister or deputy state minister. So that he is going to nominate and then the president can appoint him or her. Then after selection, preside over the cabinet meeting. The prime minister preside over all cabinet meeting. He or she also had a power to call a meeting of ministers. Generally there is a meeting of the cabinet once a week. The leader of the house is, the prime minister is this leader of the house, as he or she is the leader of the majority of the party. That's why he or she is the prime minister, na? He is the leader of majority party. He makes all major statement of the government policy or any issue. He lets and defend his cabinet, his colleagues on the floor of house whenever there is a discussion in the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. So he act as a leader and defend his minister or give the answer on a particular topic, particular discussion. So prime minister can dissolve the Lok Sabha also. Link between president and the cabinet. The prime minister conveyed all the decision of the cabinet to the president, and the president views are conveyed to the cabinet. So prime minister is the link in between the cabinet and the president. Therefore prime minister act as a chain or link in between these two people. means the President and Cabinet. Then an architect of foreign policy, Prime Minister develop friendly relation with the other countries. He safeguards and announces the foreign policy. His most important duty is to protect India's national interest. Leader of the nation. As the head of the government, he is also the leader of the nation. Every citizen of the country looks towards him for any demand or work to be done. Now, one case study has been given to you. The real power of the president. The position of the president has always been controversial issue. Okay, why he is the nominal head? There had been differences of opinion among members of drafting committee and other members of the Constitution Assembly. Okay, why Prime Minister actually is more powerful and the President is having a nominal power. Now, Dr. Rajendra Prasad felt that President hold an elective office for a short period. He is the head of the government and can impeach for the violation of Constitution. The comparison of Indian President cannot do with the Queen of England. The Queen of England is the head of unitary government and holds the hereditary office because it's the family. Once after once. So it's a hereditary position because only from their family member the Queen or the King is there. Other family member cannot become the Queen or King of the England. According to the Article 53, the executive power union shall be vested in the President and shall be exercised by him either directly or through the office subordinate to him. But according to Article 73, this to 53 says the executive power of the union shall vested in the President. But Article 74 said there should be a council of ministers with the Prime Minister at the head to aid and advise the President. Article 74 says this, and the President will act in accordance with such advice. But the President will act in accordance with the advice of Council of Ministers if does not violate any provision of Constitution. The President depends upon personally of the person. He is not free, she is not free. If he or she is going to criticize, so violate, so impeachment motion is there in against of him or her. So there were differences between Dr. Rajendra Prasad and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. In 1954, the President Dr. Rajendra Prasad had different opinion on the matter of Hindu Code Bill. Later, the issue was referred to Attorney General. Still, Ward expressed the view that the Indian Constitution was based on British Parliament system, and in this system, advice of Council of Ministers is supreme. Because Dr. Rajendra Prasad was saying something different for Hindu Code of Bill. He said, no, it cannot be like this. But Prime Minister Nehruji said, no, it will be like this. There was a lots of difference. So what happened? Now they said, no, we are having the parliamentary form of government. In parliamentary form of government, whatever the Council of Ministers and the Prime Minister passes in the Lok Sabha, that will follow. So they are supreme. Now the President are binding, not free. So in case of Shamsher Singh, a 7 judges bench of Supreme Court upheld this view, and the consultation was amended by Mrs. Indira Gandhi. Amendment was that President was bound by advice of Council of Ministers only. President cannot take the free decision. The provision did not exist prior to 1979. So this type of provision has been passed, and where the Prime Minister become more powerful. So that's end for the chapter. Let's discuss the important points of the chapter. The President is the head of Indian Republic. President is elected for 5 years. President can be removed through impeachment motion. President appoint the Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. President is having a power to grant the pardon to any prisoner, okay, if he get the advice from the court members. The President has right to proclaim the emergency also. Vice President is elected by both the houses of Parliament. Vice President is the ex officio chairperson of Rajya Sabha. The Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister, and there are 3 categories of minister: Cabinet, Minister of State, and then Deputy Minister. After that, the Prime Minister preside over the cabinet meeting. The president can issue ordinance when the parliament is not in session. India has a parliamentary form of government and the government is responsible for Lok Sabha. Towards the Lok Sabha, the cabinet minister exercises the real power of the central government. And the prime minister is the most important person in the government. Prime minister is the most powerful than the president. Then prime minister is the link between the cabinet and the president. Then we have discussed one case study where we found that there was a difference between the Dr. Rajendra Prasad and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, where they have differences on the power of president and the prime minister. So that's end for the chapter. I hope you understand. Please do the exercise carefully.